All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, it's been less than 2 years since Steve Cohen has been the majority owner of the New York Mets, but he's making an impact by doing things that are decades overdue for this franchise. We saw today for the Mets home opener, the Tom Seaver statue being unveiled at Citi Field, allowing former Met players such as Keith Hernandez, who is a current broadcaster with the Mets, to be more involved in spring training. And, Keith Hernandez basically said, he never felt more welcome than he did this year. Bringing back Old Timers Day, a willingness to spend money, a dedication to putting the right people in the right positions in order to succeed. And that includes bringing back Sandy Alderson as the Mets president of baseball operations. Sandy Alderson going out and hiring Billy Epler as a Mets general manager. Then on top of that, basically giving Sandy Alderson and Billy Epler a blank check and say, you know what, go out there and making it happen. Listening to fans because he himself is a fan of the Mets. Stopping at no expense and not taking any shortcuts in regards to putting a contender on the field in Queens. And Cohen is a businessman and is basically, he knows if you build it, they will come. And that is what he is looking to do for this team right now. And in the process, he has peeled back the surface of this Mets franchise, and he's in the process of removing the stench that was Fred and Jeff Wilpon, the dark cloud that hung over the Mets organization for a very long time. Now, it's been a very long time since the Mets fan base has had the excitement and the buzz around them that they currently do. And the buck stops and starts with Cohen. And you look at it, I mean, opening day was today, or the Mets home opener rather, but it just had a different feel to it. There was a different electricity in the air for the Mets that, hasn't been there in quite some time. Maybe going back to 2016, right after the Mets won the NL pennant. But the thing is like it's something that's few and far between for Met fans. And I talk about the Tom Seaver statue, and I mean, you can make the case, and most Met fans will probably feel like this, that Tom Seaver is the best player that has ever played for the Mets. You figure this guy, and I mean, the Mets organization is littered with quality pitchers throughout the years, but nonetheless, it's still Tom Seaver and everybody else when you look at the stat books. And, we saw Fred Wilpon build City Field, and it opened back in 2009. And it was basically a shrine for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And of course, the Dodgers, once upon a time, did call Brooklyn home. But the bottom line is, if you're Wilpon and you're owning the Mets, you need to make your stadium and make it more centered or centric to the team that you own. Let the Dodgers worry about the Dodgers, even though you're going for that Brooklyn feel. Let the Dodgers worry about that. It's a situation where you know what, this Tom Stevens statue was long overdue. This is something that should have easily been done by the Mets 20 to 25 years ago. Steve Cohen, he's been there less than 2 years, and already, Tom Seaver has a statue. It's unfortunate that, Tom Terrific passed away and he could not be with the Mets and their fan base, and of course, his fans. To see the unveiling of the statue today, but nonetheless, his family was there, and it was still a very beautiful moment. But doing things like that, bringing back old timers day, getting guys who were so key to success and for the franchise in the past involved once again. These are things, these are elements that you saw sometimes, but not enough under the Wilpons. And Steve Cohen is getting the basics. Um, he's building a different organization, and it looks like he's building a family. So if you are a Met fan, the future, you should be happy because the future is bright for you. And I think Steve Cohen is trying to take this Mets organization back to what it was in the mid 1980s. And of course, that was the last time that the Mets won the World Series. But you go back to that time, and for a lot of people outside of New York City, the Mets were the team that everybody loved to hate. And of course, after that, we saw the success of the Yankees in the 90s and 2000s. And of course, the Yankees went back to being that team because throughout the majority of their illustrious history, that's what it's been all about for the Yankees. But nonetheless, with success, breeds jealousy. And I think Steve Cohen wants to get the Mets back to that level. It's going to be easier said than done. But you know what? This is a team that's trending upward. Now, it's not a guarantee that the Mets are going to win the World Series this year. It's not a guarantee that the Mets are going to win the World Series in the next several years. But with that said, you can clearly see that Cohen is building a contender. He's building a culture. He's changing the culture. He's changing the structure of this organization. And it starts from the ground up. You have to like what you're seeing so far, and just the buzz from opening day alone, is a good thing for the Mets. Obviously, they have a new skipper in Buck Showalter. But you know what? This team looks like they're ready to go. But more importantly, the owner looks like he is ready to go. When you take your cue from the top of your organization, and the Mets have been lackluster for so long, that fell into the laps of the Wilpons. But now it's a new day. The Tom Seaver statue was a huge step in the right direction. And let's see what else that Steve Cohen is going to do to keep turning around the fortunes of the New York Metropolitans. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.